Maverick News, the antivirus program for your mind. And now, the Freedom Reporters.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Maverick News Channel. What a big show we have lined up for you this evening. Super Bowl, Taylor Swift, love story, pop culture, Donald Trump talking about NATO, which we talked about last night. Now they're talking about him. Now he's talking about them. And we're going to talk about the anniversary of the Freedom Convoy at the Windsor Ambassador Bridge. Leo's going to join us and bring us up to date on what happened down there with the second anniversary event that took place in Canada's Motor Cities. Stay with me. I'll be right back, and Leo will join us on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, also, before we get into what happened with the Freedom Convoy anniversary, we'll bring Leo in. Hi, Leo. How are you today?
Good, Rick. Good. How are you?
Well, I'm okay. I just wanted to let everybody know that we are following this breaking story out of Texas, where we are seeing a shooting at a mega church, Lakewood Church, and this is in Houston, and there was a single shooter, and we have, I believe, at least one person shot. Let me just get confirmation on that. And we have also a news conference that we can pick up here for you for just a moment. Sorry, I've got my notes over here. This is sort of a developing story just within the last hour or two. Okay, so let's go to this news conference. This is with the police and the fire chief in Houston. A lot of buttons to click here. Hang on, I'm queuing it up for you. I've got them. And here we go.
Let me thank all the agencies that are here with us. This is really a team effort, and our prayers are with, and our positive thoughts are with the injured and with the officers that engaged this suspect. It's traumatic not only for our community, but it's certainly traumatic for the officers who've had to take a life, and we worry about their mental health as well. So
yeah, the shooter is down,
and we're going to give them whatever support they need to ensure that they are able to manage through this incident safely. Kudos to the first responders. The Houston Fire Department, Police Department was here within minutes. We are now dealing with consequence management of this incident. Now that the threat has been neutralized, we are going to.
And there was a child shot.
That any issue, any risk that we see is properly vetted. We have
critically
our
injured
team on scene. You see behind us, you have decon units that are participating in collaboration with the Houston Police Department's bomb squad to ensure that we are looking at every aspect that may be of risk. Right now, I can safely say that we have not found anything that is of concern to our community or to this location. but we're going to take our time to ensure that that we look at every aspect. Our hazmat team, our decon team, and our rescue team will remain on scene until needed, and we're going to collaborate in this effort. We did transport two patients. One, approximately a 5-year-old child in critical condition. They went to Texas Children's, and we transported a second male, about 56 years of age, with an injury to the hip. He, last I heard, he was in stable condition. Both are still in the hospital. The child is still in critical condition, and we don't have any further information as far as his status. But again, let's pray for this community as a whole. This is traumatic for everyone, every Houstonian, and these types of incidents are, unfortunately, something that we deal more often than we need to with. So, look, we're going to remain on scene. I'm going to pass this on now to. Let me get right before I get it. So let me before I bring it up. Yeah. Really quickly. This is a light, an isolated incident. We believe at this moment. Okay. No further danger to our public, but we do want to conduct a methodical search of the building to make sure that nobody's in there, nobody else is in there hurt. So that will continue. We ask that the public stay away from the area and let us do our job on that. The reunification location for our parents or our family members is the Lifetime Fitness Center here. And if you come up, we'll direct you. Try to stay on the east side of the building, not on the west side of the building, and we'll get you reunited with your family members, okay?
All right, so that is where things stand at this time. And the shooter is reported to have been a woman who went in there with some sort of long rifle, was wearing a trench coat, had a backpack. And as you just heard, it was a child that apparently was shot. Another person also transported to a hospital with the child with an injured hip. 2 off-duty police officers responded, and the woman was shot and killed. So the shooter is down. And this is a developing story. We will continue to follow it, but it appears the danger has now passed. Police saying that there does not appear to be any escalated danger or any other danger to the community. This seems to have been an incident restricted just to the church itself in Houston, Lakewood Church, a mega church in that community. So, as I say, we will continue to follow this and update you if there are any additional developments, but pretty self-explanatory at this point. No word yet on a possible motive or details on who the shooter was. So let's bring Leo back in now and move on to our next story, a big one today, because Leo, you were down at the riverfront and I think at Micmac Park in Windsor, Ontario, for the 2nd anniversary of the Freedom Convoy that was really focused at the Ambassador Bridge 2 years ago. It was a big part of the whole pushback against government mandates and pandemic restrictions at that time. What happened down there today?
Well, a lot of police intimidation since the last couple of days, right? The scare tactics and everything else, and the police were there today. They're trying to ask who organized it. Nobody's owning up to it, right? Because nobody did organize it. We didn't know where we were going, where we were headed, and it was funny because the police, they blocked off the Ambassador Bridge traffic, okay, on the Huron line. A bunch of other streets too in Windsor, Ontario, right? And we were nowhere near there. We didn't go nowhere near there, right? So it was pretty funny. So they're in fear. They're in fear of what, I don't know. Okay, and at the same time, there was the Gaza protests. Okay, down Walker Road, they were taking up both lanes. Okay, so I didn't know what to make of that. Right, it's fair for them to have their protests, but for us, whatever. Right, So
let's take a look at this. You saw some video here. This is where police did approach some of the people who came out for this anniversary convoy. So let's take a look at what happened here.
the police station.
When everybody else shows
It's
up.
not going to be just taken off and driving all over. Yeah, guys,
Follow the leader.
what's a good time that you can tell us about and more people show up. Okay, so we'll hang out in the area. Want to talk to you about you.
Can you grab coffee for us?
Wrong protest. That's the wrong protest.
You're getting jealous everybody having coffee in their hand.
I guess I could make anybody laugh, eh? No, don't take nothing. Don't take nothing. Don't take nothing.
Did you hear that?
Don't take nothing. Don't take nothing, because once you take it, you're liable. I'm deaf. I'm deaf. You can read it.
Is that why you talk so loud?
Yes.
He's the mouth of the South, remember?
The mouth of the South, the man without a plan, the master of all your disasters. Share this shit out. It's getting hairy. So we got a bunch of OPP headed into Windsor right now. This is what I'm getting reported in the Ambassador Bridge, Wyandotte Street. They got Border Patrol. The bridge is blocked off.
Really? All over the place. This is the taxpayers' money being wasted. What do they think we are?
Hey, we're a peaceful convoy.
Okay, who's the troublemaker?
You know what? Honestly, we don't care because you guys are just making yourselves look more ridiculous in the end. Because
No, but I
Okay,
mean,
so this went on for a while, right? And oops,
that's what we do.
did
Always done.
we're celebrating.
But
If you let it
Did
roll
anything-
right here, Rick, listen to this fellow,
Yeah.
what he has to say.
No, but you're here. You told me just now you're here to help us. How are you helping me? Right?
Session or whatever you want to call it.
I'm not in for a session. I'm sitting here in a park. Oh, wow.
But it sounds like we're
guys,
doing
we just
this.
have some information for you if you want to read.
Well, I know you're kind of protecting the people out there, the Karens that have phoned you, like your intel. Well, you've got people calling you and saying this dangerous procession is going to be clogging the roads again. And all it is a bunch of friendly people going to have a barbecue. Yeah, but it's huge though. I know, I understand that.
Cases, false,
But when is it over?
Tim, bunch of troublemakers.
false charges that were raised in the jury.
So this is just the literature, just in regards to like things that are still in place in terms of
What do you get?
Oh, that's good to know.
keeping Ontario Business Act, just stuff like that. Just for everyone's awareness, right?
So, what do you think about when the government shut everything down?
They're not allowed.
Are they keeping Ontario?
Not really my place to say there.
They're not allowed to express their opinions, unfortunately. They can speak privately, but the one person who didn't speak out.
So you guys all have a right to peacefully protest or peacefully assemble.
And peacefully drive.
Yeah, that's what we just want to ensure, right?
can't really hear what he's saying, but I get the idea.
You guys got a beautiful day. Should be a good day.
Yeah, there's a lot of backup noise.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Fred? Anybody else want any
I didn't know this was
any
like
literature?
So all of these
eventually the public is just going to go, wow, these people just go for a drive.
So in the end, did Did anybody take any paperwork from police at all or anything?
Yeah, a couple people did, and I questioned them on it. Why would you take it? Well, it's for my own records. Well, keep the records. I wouldn't take anything from the police, period. I just know better, right? Because once you do, it's like being served, and you're not going to serve me, right? You're supposed to be serving me in another way as a police officer, and that's looking out for our well-being, right? So it was a lot of smoke and mirrors. I don't know what they were thinking was going to happen today, but they were wrong. And it just tied up a lot of money for from the taxpayers to police something that didn't happen for them.
So I understand, if you have an event, you're going to have something going on the streets, you would often call police just to notify them and say that we're having a demonstration or a parade or a community event or whatever, so that they're aware, and then they can make sure that they have proper traffic control in place to keep people safe. But what was your assessment of what they were doing down there today? Was it for that purpose, or do you think they were there for something else?
I think they were there for something else. Okay, somebody was blowing some smoke up their ass. Okay, I don't know who, but it wasn't from us. It could have been from car spotters or some other groups, right? Saying we're going to take over the bridge. That wasn't the case at all. Okay, we abided by all road laws, by the way. I got stuck at a red light, so the convoy had to break up for a second, right? So, yeah.
So what are we looking at here? This is kind of what it started out as. This gives us a sense of the size of the thing. Is this an accurate representation of what happened?
Yeah. If you turn it around another 180 degrees, you'll see it all too, right? That's Donnie's drone, eh? And in the back,
from a drone shot, yeah.
Yeah, that's his drone. And in the back, they had the police all lined up 180 degrees from there, right? So, yeah, keep turning. Yeah. So the police were lined up not there. Keep turning a bit. Back behind the fences. Keep going right there. In the back lot. Not right.
Okay.
Yeah. So they had them lined up, ready to go. AM, PM towing. I don't know what they were expecting, but I laughed. They said, you know what? Nobody really had a plan where we were going anyways. So we should all just sit here, right? Have a barbecue, good time, and you'll make the police look like clowns with their thumbs up their ass, right? Because they were expecting something that I would have known. I would have known if there was going to be some mumble jumble going on today, and there wasn't.
Yeah, so what was the purpose of today? Just to kind of get people together again to just have some camaraderie and remember the event from 2 years ago?
Yeah, exactly. The camaraderie, bumping into people, like-minded people. Now it's not so much the convoy and the mandates and everything else. Okay, now it's, for me anyways, it's the homelessness, the affordability, the drug addiction, you name it, okay? The price of food, inflation. You can't live in this country. You know, when I got friends of mine that are expats that are moving to Mexico, Florida. I even got a friend of mine that moved back to Iraq. Okay, that's how bad Canada is. He moved back to Baghdad. He can't afford it. Right, so, you know, that tells you something right there. I would say it's the prep up to Ottawa next week, because there is going to be a big crowd in Ottawa.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if the vehicles will be on Wellington Street, but there'll be a big population of people up there for sure.
Yeah. So the convoy today did end up going down through downtown and into the park there on the riverfront. So let's just take a look at that.
All of a sudden they own 50, 60 houses in Vancouver. How's that possible? I'd like to know.
Horns were going.
Yeah, I see that. Can hear that. So just tell us what we're looking at here, Leo.
We're headed, believe it or not, south to downtown Detroit area. Okay, if we cross the river, we'll be in downtown Detroit, but we're on Olin Avenue in Pitt Street, right by the Windsor Star. And as we get down to the river, that's the jumbo flag, the big flag. Dieppe Gardens, and Dieppe Gardens is a park that was put there for the celebration of World War II. The beaches of Dieppe.
Yep.
Where many Windsor, Essex, Kent people sacrificed their lives in that war, right? Some great battles.
So was today's event?
He rode down at the Water World feeding the.
Did you think you achieved anything today, or was it a worthwhile endeavor?
Oh, it was worthwhile endeavor for sure. It was peaceful.
Right.
It was.
Yeah.
It was peaceful, and you know, it's pretty bad when they're on full alert. Right? We were peaceful then, and we're peaceful now. So, you know, I never heard any chatter or anybody wanting to overthrow the government, any of that crap.
I think my brother's there.
Yeah.
He was last week.
So.
Yeah.
No,
well, you know,
The government's going to tell them to play it
Ontario.
any way that they have to, right? Believe me, even in the first one, we didn't want to.
Downtown Detroit.
We didn't
we're
want to
looking at
take the
right now.
Ambassador Bridge and shut down the Huron Church line. Okay, we did not want to do that.
and I saw yesterday the police did issue that public statement, warning anybody involved in today's event that if you shut down infrastructure, you can be held criminally responsible.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know I don't know how far that would go, right? But you know, not wasting taxpayers' money. I get it. You know, I'm not there to challenge the Section 2 charter rights. We already did that.
Yeah.
We see what happened, right? And in the end, the government was found negligent, more or less, for using the War Measures Act.
Yeah, and the the warning that was issued by police yesterday, that's really about them threatening to use that new legislation that the Ontario government brought in, which says that they can confiscate your vehicle, take you to jail if they even think that you're going to block infrastructure. So it's a very heavy-handed piece of provincial legislation that was brought in, the tail end of the original convoy. I would say that piece of legislation itself should probably be challenged constitutionally.
Hey,
I kind of think that it's. I don't think that it is constitutional because it's almost like giving police the authority to charge someone with a pre-crime.
Well, it reminds me of the overreach that the Ontario government came out with the Cannabis Act, and that was if you were a business and you were selling cannabis without a license, they came in and put locks on your doors.
Where are you,
and
Wendy?
kicked
You're
you out,
Alberta,
and you
right?
were stuck paying the lease, the mortgage, however it is, right? They came in, strong-armed people, put locks on the doors, locked you out. Same thing they're trying to do with the with this act here, right? Where they'll take your vehicle, confiscate this and that, right? In the end, I don't think anybody lost any properties with the Cannabis Act, and I don't think anybody would lose their vehicle over this. You might for a while, though.
Yeah, I don't think they've charged anyone using that new piece of legislation yet, and I don't know if anybody ever will be, but it is this really, really strong, heavy-handed tool that I think if they ever do use it, it'll end up being challenged on constitutional grounds. That's my personal assessment of it.
Yeah, and when that happens, it costs you a lot of money for legals, right? To bring that to court. So you have to have the money to challenge it. There was a fellow down there that was there today, actually, Eric, who had his vehicle impounded. Okay, at the bridge, his vehicle was impounded for 3 weeks, man. Brand new truck. And he had to pay he ended up beating it anyways in court. I should have asked him if he got his money back for all the towing, because they impounded it and it was $140 a day for the impound fees, right?
Mm-hmm. So here we are 2 years later. It's hard to believe it's been 2 years since, the original convoy and the demonstration at the Ambassador Bridge there in Windsor. Where do you think things sit today, 2 years afterward, Leo?
A lot better. And I'll tell you why. Okay, because we did it peacefully, okay, and on the world stage, Canada made its mark. Okay, there'll be other protests. I'm hearing the farmers' protests inevitably coming to a neighborhood near you, right? So we did it peacefully. Okay, the sitting government as we have right now made themselves look like fools and a bunch of clowns on the world stage. Okay, and now they've lost support. When 85% of the country is calling for an election, what's that tell you about the Liberal Party? They're now the fringe minority. It's not us. It never was us.
I was thinking that very thing today. If Trudeau had come out to just talk to the protesters 2 years ago, I said back then he could have, gone down in history as the most beloved prime minister in history. All he had to do was talk to the people, listen, and respond. Instead, the government became very heavy-handed, authoritarian, and now I would say it is much, 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 much worse for them, for the government.
Eventually, okay, if he came out, he would have been beloved by the country for about 10 seconds till he came out with the carbon tax.
Oh, well, that's true. Yes, that's true.
Or the Nazi in Parliament, right? So he's a village idiot.
Yeah.
That's you don't have to agree with me on that, Rick. Okay, but he's a village idiot, and the villages run amok.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, my point being, he had an opportunity to change direction, to come clean on some things, and just pivot. Take the country in a different direction instead of dividing people, bring people together, open up his heart a little bit, and listen to the concerns of the people he's supposed to represent. Instead, we got more authoritarianism and extreme government overreach, and now look where he is. Everywhere he goes, everybody hates him.
I've never seen anything like it in Canadian politics. Okay, even at the end of Stephen Harper's reign. Okay, I was in those liberal circles. Okay, and protesting him. There was nothing like what you're seeing right now with Justin Trudeau. Nothing.
Yeah.
That election was a positive one for Trudeau. He played a positive game all the way through.
Yeah.
There was no negativity about his campaign. Unlike this one here, it's I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, but his whole party's going to go down in the flames of glory if they don't get rid of him. They have to salvage the sinking ship.
Well, that's the one thing everybody seems to agree on is Trudeau has to go. But as far as like the freedom movement, this convoy, 2 years ago, the focus was on the pandemic, the lockdowns, the mandates, those issues. You now say that your focus has changed to some of these other issues. Is the freedom movement or the folks down there, or however you want to describe this organization or association of people, is there relevance to it anymore? What are the people trying to achieve now?
Well, what I found the relevance to a lot of people down there is the next scamdemic, which is Virus X or whatever they're calling it. Okay, so a lot of people are worried about that, but it'll never get played like we got played the last time. Not even close. The fool me once, fool me twice. Okay, it's not going to happen again. Yeah. It would just when you go to a protest,
or if you have a political movement, you sort of need an objective, right? I'm just not sure that the freedom movement has that right now. There's a lack of direction A lot
sure.
of people want a lot of different things in order to keep things relevant. I know that, people over the last couple of years, from time to time, keep latching on to different issues, whether it's drag queen story time, at one point, or, they pivot back to the vaccines, the next month, or whatever the issue might be. So I'm just not sure where the direction is with everybody. And it's amazing, actually, that at this stage in the game, to me anyway, that we're still seeing this level of organization. It's not even organization. Today, I think, was, and you tell me, but this seems, again, like it was organic in nature, that it just kind of came together
100%.
as yeah.
100%. It felt organic. There was no chanting of get rid of the mandates, get rid of the vax, the jibbity jabbities, all that stuff, right? That's all done. We're done with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think it's moving on to the same causes I've been screaming about since before 2022. Okay, because I could smell it. I could smell the bullshit that was coming around the corner from the Liberal government on the interest rates, even though they were still low back then in 2022. The cost of food, everything else, I could smell it. I could see it happening, okay? Like looking into a crystal ball. And now, finally, 2 years later, it's caught up to us. What's going to happen if he stays on until 2025? It's not going to get any better. It's going to get a lot worse.
Yeah, there's still a lot of discontent out there, even anger, because even though things seem to be better, the underlying root cause of the lockdowns, the mandates, those things are still in place. The government could turn around and do exactly the same thing to us again tomorrow.
Well, you got desperate people, and when you have desperate people in desperate times, they'll do just about anything now, right? So I'm not talking about us, the people that are desperate. The government's desperate. So checkmate, however you want to play the game. I don't think a lot of people care at this point, from where I'm sitting anyways. At this point, the Liberals are done soon. So the worst case scenario, you look how fast the last 2 years went. The fall of 2025 comes just as fast, a little faster from where we are now.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah.
Right. I don't see it happening. Some people are already saying they're predicting a June election. I don't know, and I don't really care at this point. The longer they stay in, the less Liberal MPs they'll have in the next House of Commons, and the same thing with the NDP. They're both going to burn, and they deserve to for what they've created. I'm not saying Pierre Poilievre is the man. Okay, I'm not saying that. I trust him as far as I trust any of them. But in order to get rid of Trudeau, get Poilievre in, give the guy the shot, see where he goes. Who knows? I might be wrong. One way to find out. But if I am wrong, believe me, Pierre Poilievre's going to get the same treatment as Trudeau in a hurry, maybe a little faster.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right about that. He needs to be mindful of it. Otherwise, he'll suffer a similar fate, maybe even worse.
Even worse. Because people have had enough, Rick. It's been a two-horse race. Liberal, conservative, liberal, conservative, conservative, liberal, conservative. Okay? And then you have the third player, the NDP, throwing their votes through. It's unbelievable. Okay? It should only be a two-party horse race, and I could see a third one coming in. Something for the people, something more of a Trump style. Make Canada great again. Really great.
Yeah, well, you've got the PPC in there. Clearly, they are not in a position to form the next government, so I don't think they're going to get the job done in that way. Now, we also had the leader of this new party, the United Party of Canada, on, Grant Abraham. That's an interesting development. I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on that. He's involved in this by-election up in Durham. And actually, we're looking at doing an all-candidates debate, hosting that here on Maverick News for Durham Region, because that is that's the riding where the former Conservative leader, Aaron O'Toole, had his seat. And now that he's left, now that's up for grabs. So that's a very interesting race, and I think the entire country should be focused on what's going on there, because it's I think it's going to be a bellwether to tell us what's going to happen in the next election.
For sure. I see conservatives moving in everywhere.
Yeah, well,
right.
And that riding has been a stronghold for the Conservatives for quite some time, decades, as I understand it. But still, the issues that are, they're to be debated. I think that it might be worthwhile for us to hold that all candidates debate right here.
I really like that Danielle Smith in Alberta. I really do. I like the way she thinks. I like the way she's working for the people. Right now, as a politician, you can't obviously deliver everything you say you can, right? But she seems to be delivering.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe her party could come on and boom, 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 take over, right? But don't do it.
She's
right. You can't do it now.
Provincial. That's provincial. It's a provincial party out there. So she's the premier. So that's a different animal. But yeah, I mean, what she's doing does reflect, I think, the mood of the country, at least half the country, on the conservative side of the spectrum. Yeah,
and that's the only downfall. You have the United Conservatives or whatever, right?
The UCP.
And if the Conservatives don't make it, this party comes along, people are going to go, oh, they're just conservatives, or they're a little farther right, but they're still conservative in their name, right? So we need a party that's separate from all three of them, that works for the working class. I can't stand these like today, Eric Kresniak from Windsor East, the Liberal MP. Okay, he's at a restaurant eating a corned beef sandwich that was about that thick. Can you see my hands? That thick.
Yeah.
Okay, that thick, and he's taking a bite of it, going out of this new restaurant that opened up outside of his riding, by the way, in the town of Tecumseh. But I'm just thinking, this guy didn't have 10 cents to rub together before he got into politics 4 years ago. I bet he's got over $1 million in the bank. How is that possible? He does pretty good. On a salary of 170. What do they make? 175,000 a year. Oh yes, and they're voting in for their own raise on April 1st or whatever it is. It makes me sick. Our country has a lot of wealthy people that could do the job for free. Now, if the Conservatives were smart, they would turn down this raise in the House of Commons coming in April. Whoever turns it down has my vote.
Yeah. Well, we're going to move on to some other stories here. Any other final thoughts on this? Because I want to talk about the Super Bowl and Taylor Swift and pop culture.
Ooh, yeah. You want me to talk about that?
I do. I want you to talk about the Super Bowl, because you know a lot more about football than I do. I don't know. I know squat about football. I don't follow football at all. But here we are. We're going to talk about it a little bit tonight. Because it's Super Bowl Sunday. I think the game's actually just about to begin, isn't it?
It is. I think it started already, but I could care less about tonight's game. I do know a little bit about football. I know a guy that came in the jail. He came in. He said he was a football player, and he went in as a tight end and came out a wide receiver.
Okay.
As long as you're not the quarterback and pitching the ball.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side of this, and we're gonna talk about football, Super Bowl, Taylor Swift, her private jet, and all the media hype. Here we go.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, and we do a video of that church in Houston where people were evacuated from the building. I'll show you some of what was going on there. So there was that. Also, I think we've got some actual footage from inside the church during the incident. I'm pretty sure we do. Yeah, here it is here. This was, there was a Spanish broadcast going on. So even though this isn't this guy's Spanish, it's a mega church, right? So a lot of stuff going on in the building all at the same time. But it's not in Spain or in Central America or any place. This is in Houston, even though he's speaking Spanish. Just keep that in mind. And this is while the shooter was active. You can hear the gunshots in the background. This is what was going on while this guy was trying to do his show. Here we go.
A la siguiente página, m3missions.com/2024. Repito.
Wow.
No corran, quédense.
Wow. Wow.
Like, what do you do? Well, get the hell out of there is what you do. But
yeah, this don't help the NRA at all.
No. Well, every time there's something like this that happens, the same cycle of arguments happens again, right? You get the pro-gun, anti-gun lobbies, and it just goes around and around and around in circles.
Well, you know what? I know you have a lot of American viewers, and they have the rights to bear arms. But there's a mental illness going on. I think there should be due diligence and checks, okay, before somebody gets a gun. You know, if you're on antipsychotic medications, you're not getting a gun, right? There's none. In some states, there's no checks. You don't. You could buy a pistol with a bus pass. There's your identification, right? So.
Yeah. So here it is, Super Bowl Sunday, and Joe Biden turned down the opportunity to do an interview during the Super Bowl or have an appearance on the program with CBS Sports, and then Donald Trump offered to do it, and they said, no, we don't want you. And but what we did get today is this. I guess Joe Biden, instead of doing the interview, produced this video instead. So we'll bring Joe Biden to you here on Maverick News. Joe Biden.
Super Bowl Sunday. If you're anything like me, you like to be surrounded by a snack or two while watching the big game. You know, when buying snacks for the game, you might have noticed one thing. Sports drinks bottles are smaller. A bag of chips has fewer chips, but they're still charging you just as much. And as an ice cream lover, what makes me the most angry is that ice cream cartons have actually shrunk in size, but not in price. I've had enough of what they call shrinkflation. It's a ripoff. Some companies are trying to pull a fast one by shrinking the products little by little and hoping you won't notice. Give me a break. The American public is tired of being played for suckers. I'm calling on companies to put a stop to this. Let's make sure businesses do the right thing now.
Okay. My opinion is he's full of crap.
I'm voting for him now. That's
right. I think he's so full of crap. He's the government created the inflation by printing and spending all that money. The more money you print, the more you have of something, the less it's worth. That's the laws of economics. That's a natural law. Scarcity makes things more valuable. When you have less scarcity, when things are more in abundance, they become less valuable. You have price elasticity of demand. These are economic principles. You can't escape it. They print all that money, you get inflation. But what do politicians do? They always find a scapegoat. They find some reason. It's either Vladimir Putin's fault for the war in Ukraine, or it's the big corporation that's shrinking the size of the potato chip bag, or whatever it is. But those are responses that companies take to the market conditions that the government creates through its macroeconomic policies and its monetary policies. Sorry, man, I'm not buying the Bidenomics. That's a bunch of bunk. It'll sell to a lot of people, but it's a lie. I mean, it's shrinking. They are shrinking the packages, but they're doing that in response to the economic conditions. They're not creating the inflation. They're responding to the inflation.
The only thing shrinking really fast is Biden's mental capacity.
Yes.
Okay. Big time.
That's why I didn't do the interview. I guarantee it, because he's the less exposure that he has in an uncontrolled situation, the better it is for him, because he's going to make gaffes and gaffes. You don't want to you don't want to put that guy in the Super Bowl.
You want to put him on Saturday Night Live instead of Jim Carrey playing his part. You could just play Joe. Play Joe.
Some place where it's not quite so serious. And that video, that's controlled, so they can produce that, and he can't that up, right? So
yeah, I don't know what's going on over there with him, man, but I've never seen anything like it in all the presidents that have been around since I've been alive.
Yeah, no, me either. This is it's a clown show. It really is. I can't believe it. And then also related to, now Donald Trump was turned down. He offered to appear on the Super Bowl. This CBS Sports said, no, it's okay, dear Donald, we don't want you. But Taylor Swift is making an appearance at the Super Bowl today. And Donald Trump chimed in anyway, so he's still getting a lot of media attention. Here's his post on Truth Social, and he's targeting Taylor Swift with this. He says, I signed and was responsible for the Music Modernization Act for Taylor Swift and all other musical artists. Joe Biden didn't do anything for Taylor and never will. There's no way she could endorse crooked Joe Biden, the worst and most corrupt president in the history of our country, and be disloyal to the man who made her so much money. Besides that, I like her boyfriend, Travis, even though he may be a liberal and probably can't stand me. That's so typically Trump.
Well, Biden probably smelt her.
Yeah, I sniffed her hair.
Yeah. Sniff the Swift. Sniff the Swift. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that, but you know what? In 4 years, less than 4 years, next year's Super Bowl, he'll be there.
Yeah. So that's what's going on with Trump. So
she's a Democrat. She's a Democrat.
She is.
Lo and behold, and she's generating a lot of money. $350 million for the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, she's generated. She's got a box seat. Even Travis Kelce's mom's been to how many Super Bowls? She's never had a box seat because they're too expensive. Well, they're in a box seat tonight, thanks to Taylor.
It's amazing. Yeah, have you been following all this crap with Taylor Swift leading up to this? It blew me away yesterday when I saw the coverage of her plane landing after coming back from Japan, and everybody was, concerned about Taylor Swift and whether she'd make it back to the United States and then to Vegas, right? So first to LAX and then from there to Vegas in her private jet. And I'm like, who effing cares?
I can see what's happening next, okay? She's going to run for the presidency of the United States under a Democrat. I see it building up to that.
Do you really think so?
Nah, she'll never, ever run for president. That's one of her songs.
Wow. Well, here's Here's a report on this just gives you a sense of the hype that's going on. Like people are tracking her airplane.
All eyes will be on a Dassault Falcon 9 business jet this weekend, the one carrying Taylor Swift to the Super Bowl. Now, this is not her jet, but it's the exact same type. And you can even look inside, although this one could be customized. We don't know how Taylor did hers. Set you back $54 million if you're buying new. Her fans will follow her on services like Flight Radar 24, little blips on the screen. It sounds boring, but people do it. Hundreds of thousands watched Nancy Pelosi's plane as it traveled to Taiwan, the first Speaker of the House to visit Taiwan. Hundreds of thousands more watched the final trip of Queen Elizabeth from Scotland back to London. Here's a look at the East Coast this morning. Busier out there. See all those little airplanes? The trick's going to be finding the right plane on its way to Vegas.
That one.
Okay. It's just like, all right, people want to spend your time tracking Taylor Swift's airplane. Like, does it matter?
The only thing I ever tracked was Santa Claus to the North Pole.
Yes, that's right.
For my kids on the computer, and I showed them exactly where he is, right?
I have to tell you, I'm going to build up to this. I really don't care about Taylor Swift. To me, it all seems like hype. It seems stupid on every level to me. But then I got thinking about it more today, and I'm going to tell you, I've kind of changed my mind a little bit, and I'll build up to it as we continue to look at this. I've changed my opinion a little bit, and here's Twitter and the flight tracker X account. Okay, the Taylor Swift Jets tracking account. And I'm going back here to January 23rd. So here she goes from New Jersey to Nashville, and then from Nashville to Missouri. Taylor. From Nashville to Morristown, New Jersey. From Morristown to Baltimore. From Baltimore to Tennessee. Like, okay. Oh, I have to get up in the morning and check to see where Taylor Swift is at. Like, is it really that important? But I guess people live and breathe this stuff, right? It's crazy to me.
Well, it's like Elvis Presley, right? You had the followers of Elvis. They went crazy for Elvis. The Beatles. Okay, there's many bands out there, right? This is just another phase, I guess, the Taylor phase.
And that's exactly it. That's why I've kind of changed my view a little bit on it, Leo, but continue.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with her. Okay, she got the lucky end of the deal. Okay, and she's making money, a lot of money doing it. Like I said, she'll have her fans forever, and there's millions and millions of Taylor Swift fans. She sold out that Japanese tour. I think it was 3 tours she pulled off there. Sold it out, no problem. The money she's making is incredible. And I'm not going to knock her for that, because I don't care who you are, anybody watching this show. Okay, you're not selling out. She's got actually a talent, and she's using it for, you never hear any of her music like rappers, gang bang, shoot this guy, beat that hoe. Okay, you don't hear any of that from Taylor Swift's music at all, right? So, it is what it is. People are jealous. That's what I'll say. People are jealous, and a lot of people are. I'm not.
Yeah, it's not jealousy for me. It's like, for me, I'm not in her demographic, so I've not really followed her much, right? I've hardly heard a note of her music, honestly. I've heard a few songs. I don't pay much attention. So to me, it seems silly, juvenile. But then I realized today that I'm not being fair, because what this really is this is Americana. This is America. This is pop culture. This is this generation's Marilyn Monroe, Elvis Presley, Beatlemania. This is what it is.
It's a fairy tale. It's like a fairy tale. Okay,
yes,
here you have a girl. She's not the prettiest, okay, but now she's not marrying, but she's dating who?
The football star, right? It's
right.
It's like the American fairy tale love story, right? This is what it is. And, some conservative politicians, I think Vivek Ramaswamy has come out and kind of said that it's all basically being fabricated, made up. And I think that to a great degree, it is. It's media hype. It's marketing. I don't know how genuine the relationship is. I suppose really it probably doesn't matter. We've had this kind of thing all through history, all through American pop culture, whether you're talking about whoever the love interest was at any time for Rock Hudson, who ended up, coming out as and being gay in the end, right? So every one of those romances was very likely just a fabrication, made up. So it's just all for the media, for the public to eat it up,
I don't think it's made up. I don't think it's made
I don't
up.
think it is either. I think it's real.
I seen them kissing. And she slipped him the tongue. And so she's not faking, that's for sure. But I'm as much as I can't stand, I call him instead of Mahomes, Mahomo. Okay, the quarterback Mahomo. I hope he cries like a baby, but I hope Taylor and Kelsey live a great, prosperous life. And she does a lot of things, Rick. Okay, a lot of things.
Yep.
If she comes on tour to a city, she gives out the things she does for the homeless in that city. You wouldn't know till you investigated it and looked into it, but she does a lot of things. But she'll give out $1 million on in the city of Detroit. She just does a concert there, give out $1 million. She pays her crew very, very handsomely.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not going to knock her. I'm happy for her. If that was my daughter, I'd be tickled pink.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I have nothing against Taylor Swift. I just, I don't generally like to talk a lot about celebrities and that kind of stuff on the show too much because I just think it's largely a distraction. But the other reason I've changed my mind on this a little bit is because that is the kind of thing for America that brings the country together. That is the kind of content, if you will, media content that everyone can kind of agree on. It's all, cotton candy, fluffy Americana, modern, current Americana. And that is the thing that can bind the country. And I think that's okay.
I think it's a split decision because, they do promote the chibbity jabbities and this and that, right? 2 for ones.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I don't agree with that at all, right? But she's getting paid, so
who
knows, right?
Yeah.
Let
it's
bygones
just,
be bygones. You want to go get the jibbity jabbity? Have at it. Take mine while you're at it. Okay, that's personal choice, right? But to promote it, do you really need the money, Travis Kelce? Do you really need the money from Pfizer to do these commercials? They're silly. Okay, when you see the lawsuits going on, it's enough's enough.
Yeah, I mean, that aside, I'm just kind of thinking in terms of, the pop culture. Everybody's a product of their era. For me, growing up, it's Star Wars and, all the 80s music. Everybody listens to the music that they kind of grew up with. Yeah. And 20, 30 years from now, all the kids of today will be listening to Taylor Swift. That'll be on the oldies radio station. Yep. And that's the stuff that kind of, I think that ultimately people end up associating with their country and their communities and their past, the memories. That's the stuff that, resonates in your heart in the end.
Yeah, mine was Duran Duran, Union of the Snake, and Rambo, First Blood Part 1. You drew First Blood, right? Those are the movies in the 80s. Rocky, give me Rocky, 1978 or 1979, Rocky 1. Great movies. Yeah, Star Wars in 77, and then you had all those action heroes, right? You had Clint Eastwood and Charles Bronson, Chuck Norris. The list goes on. Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's still kicking around today. Sylvester Stallone, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. Even
Steven Seagal, who's kind of defected to the Russian side.
But he's not above the law. He's not above the law. Remember?
But then I was. That's right. But then I was thinking about how dysfunctional the United States has become, and Canada by extension, because I was thinking about Bruce Jenner, right? Who was, at the time, in his day, as an athlete, as an Olympian, he was an American hero. He was on the box of Wheaties cereal. That made him famous.
Sports Illustrated. He was everywhere. He was everywhere.
Yeah. An Olympic champion, an American icon. And I think that, in a way, he even, or she, or whatever, represents, is a metaphor or a representation of what America was, is, and has become, and is likely to be, because America, in many respects, is the Kardashians, which, that's his family, right? He's connected to all of that. It's like America has gone from Bruce Jenner to his new persona, whatever it is, and that is what America has sort of become. And then you've got the whole Taylor Swift love story, but I don't know. America is pretty weird and dysfunctional.
100%. If you were to wake up from 1979 to today, just 1979 to today, and see the changes that have gone on, crazy.
You wouldn't recognize, or even, and you never would have predicted that this would be the state of affairs today.
Everything's changed, man. Everything's changed, from technology to body anatomy.
Yeah.
And it's self-done. Right,
growing up, we were always told you can be whatever you want to be when you grow up. I thought that meant I could be a doctor or an astronaut or a deep sea diver or, whatever I wanted to be. I didn't know that it meant you could decide if you wanted to be a man or a woman. I didn't think that was an option, but literally today, that is what they are telling kids, and a lot of people have embraced that.
Well, it's like Tucker Carlson. They asked him, you wanted to be a CIA agent. So what? Okay. I wanted to be a race car. I'm not a race car. Okay. You asked little Johnny, he wants to be a fireman. You asked my son, little Leo, he wanted to be a cop. Okay. So what? He wanted to be CIA. Big deal. Everybody has a dream. At least he didn't want to become Caitlyn.
Yeah, it does show how thorough Putin was going into that interview, digging into Tucker Carlson's background to make sure he wasn't going to be throwing any curveballs or have any surprises there. So that was very interesting that he had that piece of information. I did take note of it, though, because before going into the interview, Carlson was critical of the U.S. government for digging into his background, and then coming to see him, saying that, they knew he was thinking of going over to interview Putin because they'd basically spied on him. He took exception to that, but he didn't push back on Putin spying on him and digging into his past, or however they got that information.
And what's funny, 48 hours before he did that interview, I was doing one with Dean Ryan after hours, about 2:30 in the morning, right? He's in Arizona. And we're talking about the Tucker Carlson break. I said, it's big news. He goes, and he told me he was CIA, or he wanted to be CIA. He already knew the scoop on Tucker Carlson and the CIA crap, right? And I thought it was a little bit conspiracy theorist, right? But then it came out, so he was right on.
Interesting.
So, yeah, Dean Ryan knew the scoop.
Yeah, and we're talking about that interview, and here's Boris Johnson responding to that interview. I thought we might run this clip, and I'll get your comments on this, Leo.
Seen it earlier.
Here we go here. Oh, did you? Yeah, so...
Around the world, people are watching that ludicrous interview with Vladimir Putin conducted by Tucker Carlson, and we must not fall for this tissue of lies, above all for the notion that Putin is somehow fated to succeed in Ukraine. On the contrary, he is doomed to fail. Read about it Vladimir.
I'll read about it in the Daily Mail. What I think of him, he's a liar. And, you know, he locked down his people while he had a nice, great, big parties and everything else. And, you know, he's full of shit. I liked him in the beginning when he came out. I thought, oh, here we go. We got a decent conservative running Britain. He's no different from Joe Biden or Trudeau or any of them, right? He's a sellout.
Have you taken any time to sort of backtrack and review the events that led up to the Ukraine war, to really look at the events that have transpired? Because I've started to do that, and I've been looking at it, you know, from
2014 or
and
farther
before,
back,
and even a little bit further before that. You know, all of the stuff that led up to it. I try to take a balanced approach to things. So I've been digging into both sides more. I found more stuff that Vladimir Putin has written. I'm reviewing everything that the European Union, what Obama was doing leading up to it, and how he was responding to Russia's moves. I just I've done that because what I'm seeing is Russia is really winning on the information warfare side with this. Whether, you know, their messaging is getting out. The other side, very ineffective. Their messaging not hitting home with people. I can certainly understand why. But I'm digging back into the timeline on both sides, and you can see two totally different worldviews. And you know, we might dig into it more, you know, in a future episode of the program, just to kind of compare the two perspectives on it. You know, for me, I can always see the two perspectives, and then I make up my own mind. I just wonder how much I wonder if people are really paying attention to two sides, because everybody's kind of in their bubble all the time.
I think America's had a hard-on for Ukraine for a very long time. Putin's been in power 24 years. It's gone on longer than that. Boris Yeltsin days. Okay, when they broke up that bloc, they should never have broke it up. Russia should never have broke it up. They should have kept what was theirs, and Ukraine was theirs. Instead, they broke it up, and they were being nice when they did it. They gave them Crimea, the Donbass, Ukraine, all that crap, okay, and left all their weapons there. All their military weapons, the Russians just got up and went back to whatever, the new line for Russia. They should never did it.
With the dissolution of the Soviet Union, you mean?
Yes, the old bloc, right? Mm-hmm. They should never did it. You know, I don't know why, maybe, but I don't know what the America sees in Ukraine that we don't. It's always money, right? So what's there? Is there a big cache of gold and diamonds and whatever?
Well, the flashpoint was the trade deal that Ukraine was going to sign, you know, in 2013, and then that didn't happen, and that resulted in the protests in the Maidan, and then it depends on which storyline you end up following and accepting. You know, if you look at, you know, the Russian perspective, it was like a CIA color revolution coup. If you look at the other side of it, it's a totally different story.
The former president, where did he go? Did they end up killing him in the end?
No, he.
I remember when they had the coup.
When they didn't sign that trade deal, he fled. He agreed to step down, and then they voted on the trade deal, and he took off. They couldn't find him to sign it. And his whole cabinet followed him, actually. So Yanukovych took off. he went to Crimea. I'm not sure where he is now, but he went to Crimea, and then everything started to escalate in Crimea. Russia came in with, their forces, and I'll send you a link actually to some other information on this, because again, with politics, it's always about perspective, and that's when Russia went in and basically took back Crimea, and that was another flashpoint, and there's just been more and more escalation since then. And then it depends on which side of the story you choose to believe, why things happened. And from the Russian perspective, you're looking at the Donbass, and they're saying that Russia would say that the Russian-speaking population there was under constant attack by Ukrainian nationalists. If you look at it the other way, they're saying that there were separatist forces there that wanted to break away from Ukraine, and that Russia got involved and backed the separatists to destabilize the country. So it just, which way do you look at it? And then it's a question of, does Ukraine actually have the right to self-determination? Should Ukraine have the right to sovereignty? And as I've said all along, Ukraine has a long history of being used and run over by, different countries, whether it was Germany coming in at World War II and then having the Russians come back in on the other side and pushing the Germans out. But either way, Ukraine has always had a history of sort of being taken over or used as a doorway into and out of Russia for invading forces, right? Which is why Putin is concerned about it. So it just depends on your perspective. From Vladimir Putin's perspective, Ukraine, that's why he gave those documents to Tucker Carlson. He's saying, look, you go way back in history, and that land is ours, and we have a right to preside over it, right? They don't have the right to sovereignty there. But that also takes me back to my early political science classes when, we were looking at countries that live or exist next door to superpowers. And the reality is, and I've said this many times on the show, if you're living next door to the United States or to Russia, you have to be mindful of that. You're not going to be an entirely sovereign country, because your positioning right on the doorstep of a superpower means you have to live with that, and you're not going to allow an adversary to come in there and put missiles on your border without having pushback from the superpower that you live next door to, right?
The only reason we don't speak Russian or Chinese is who? The United States of America.
That's right. And so it's the same situation here.
I always thought Odessa, growing up as a kid, Odessa was part of Russia my whole life until they split to the Ukraine, right? And Odessa, right? And that's always been a cesspool for sex trafficking and money laundering and all kinds of criminal activity, right? Odessa. Yeah. Even when it was under Russia, it was still a cesspool.
Yeah, so, it's just... It's to fully understand the story, I think you always need to try to look at all the perspectives. But I'll tell you this, the Western leaders have done a really crappy job of conveying their perspective on this. I think they've been far too focused on just their military capabilities and not focused nearly enough on explaining themselves. And I think Putin has done a better job in that regard. I still stick to what I've always said, though. The war there never had to happen. The NATO should have stayed away, because Ukraine was much better off, even under the thumb of Russia. I think I would like to see Ukraine as a neutral country with Russia and NATO, United States, saying it's basically hands off in there. Right? They can't be entirely sovereign in this respect. They have to remain neutral.
Right.
And then the people will be much better off. But if one side or the other is controlling it, then the people there are not able to engage in self-determination or sovereignty. And and it's always going to be destabilizing geopolitically. So it should be a buffer state, in my view. How you get back to that now, I don't know, but I'd sure like to see people sit down at the negotiating table and broker a peace deal.
The only good thing about war, for me, is that I learn geography. Every time there's a war, I learn geography. I could tell you everything about Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Burma, Thailand. Okay, same thing now in the Middle East. I can name almost every country in the Middle East, but I can't in Africa because there's too many countries there, right? There's a lot of countries in Africa, but you see.
But see, sorry, go ahead.
You see what's going on with Ukraine, right? There's a pattern with other countries. Look at Vietnam, for starters. I know a lot about Southeast Asian history. Okay, the Chinese were in Vietnam. Pardon me. The Chinese were in Vietnam before the French, and in I think 1954 the French came in to try and rule Vietnam. Didn't work out so well for the French. Then the Americans came in. Okay, it didn't work out so good for the Americans. And who ended up ruling in the end? Big brother next door, China. Even though it's still Vietnam, right? So the same shit's going to happen in Ukraine. You're going to have countries trying to come in and take it, right, when they're down. Russia's not going to let it happen, though. They're going to fight to the end.
Yeah, Russia is right there. They, in the end, the United States, NATO got it all wrong because their perspective on it doesn't really matter that much insofar as what really matters is how Russia views it, which is that they view it as a serious existential threat to the existence of the country because it's right on their border. To them, it's the equivalent of the Cuban Missile Crisis. So they will not accept Ukraine being a NATO country. And in 2013, Putin was making it very clear he didn't want Ukraine to be part of the European Union through that trade deal, and really let them know, didn't he? Because this is where we're at now.
Well, at least with the Cuban missile, Cuba and Miami's 90 miles apart, so you got a buffer. That would be like Canada and the United States. Russia coming here to set up. You think America's going to allow that? Hell no.
Yeah, well, that exact thing right there, that's what's got me worried. Because I see separatist forces in Canada, I see all kinds of propaganda, information warfare, I see references repeated over and over about, maybe Canada being invaded or taken over by the United States. And it also makes me wonder, from a lot of what I've been seeing, what other countries like China, Russia, I see fingerprints on some of this information warfare coming back on the other side, and Canada's stuck in the middle. It really, really worries me. It really does, because it's very destabilizing.
Look at me. I've stated it before. Me living 1 mile from downtown Detroit my whole life, okay?
Yeah.
I could care less if America came over here and took Windsor. Really. My identity's been American my whole life. You have the metric system. Yeah, I learned it, but the gallons and inches and feet and miles, okay? Yeah. That's what I go by. I don't go by kilometers and liters and centimeters. Okay, I don't do that, right? I go by inches still.
Right. So the fastest way to peace when you're in a conflict with someone is to surrender.
Well, there's not much you could do. If America's coming to take you, there's really not much you could do.
Or Russia, for that matter. What's Canada going to do either way? The concern that I have is that if
you're going to pray to Big Brother, you're going to pray to Big Brother, right?
Oh my God!
I don't care what anybody says. If they say, "Oh, I want Russia here," Russians are barbaric. Okay, they're barbaric, and they've been known to be barbaric. Look what they did in Afghanistan before, in the would have been the 70s, 80s, right?
Yep.
The Mujahideen. Look what they did to these people in Afghanistan, and they stayed 20 years, no problem, just like America did.
Yep. And in the end, still had the same problem. Like, they could not tame that country, and they ended up leaving at great cost to Russia. back in that time, and the United States learned nothing from that and went in there anyway after 9/11, which was also, in my view, a huge mistake, a giant trap, but bad foreign policy and stupidity coming from the White House. What can I say?
Georgia, Chechnya, Russia's backyard. Look what they did there.
Yeah.
You might think Putin's a nice guy, but they all have an agenda, and you don't want to be at the end of that agenda.
That is right. I agree with that.
So
yeah.
I'm in a good position here in Windsor, Ontario, where the Russians come. I'm in Michigan. See you later. And I'm packing with, if I got to fight, at least I'm going to fight with some real military armaments, not what we have here with Canada.
Well,
we don't have anything to fight with.
Just feels like I can tell that Canada's in play, and I'm not sure how that's going to play out ultimately. I just hope that whatever happens to our country, whether it stays together or if separatist political movements are successful and the country breaks apart, I just hope that it is peaceful. I don't think any of that is worth bloodshed.
Right. Well, I'll let you know if I smell any bloodshed up in Ottawa next week, but I don't see it being,
No, I don't think that's going to happen next weekend at all. But
I think there's going to be a lot of people to show up, right? There's discontent for the government. Look what we have to deal with, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's not going to be that same feeling from 2 years ago. Not even close. You're never going to get that feeling again.
Yeah, and you're not going to get the numbers up there like that again this coming week either. I wouldn't expect.
I wouldn't expect it either. But you're not going to see, like I said, you're not going to see vehicles on the road. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be an overthrowing of the Liberal government. The Liberals are going to take their own trash out.
Although I do see posts about farmers maybe joining the demonstration next weekend. So with what we've seen in Europe, who knows what's going to happen with those guys, right?
It's only a matter of time before they jump and get involved, right?
Yeah.
You take out the farmers, you got no food.
Yeah. And here's Trump. Yesterday we ran this, talking about NATO.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you know the clip I'm about to play, right? Where he says that if he's president, that he would not defend a NATO country if it didn't pay its bills and pay up, right?
Right.
Pay their share for self-defense. He says the United States pays too much.
NATO, I got them to pay up. NATO was busted until I came along. I said, everybody's going to pay. They said, well, if we don't pay, are you still going to protect us? I said, absolutely not. They couldn't believe the answer. And everybody, you never saw more money pour in. The Secretary General Stoltenberg, well, I don't know if he is anymore, but he was my biggest fan. He said, all these presidents came in, they'd make a speech, they'd leave, and that was it. And they all owed money, and they wouldn't pay it. I came in, I made a speech, and I said, you got to pay up. They asked me that question. One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? He said, yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay. You got to pay your bills. And the money came flowing in.
Nobody rides for free. Nobody.
Yeah, right, so he's being criticized pretty heavily tonight.
Yeah, by NATO country. By NATO countries.
Yes, that's right.
But it makes sense. You're going to put up protection. You better pay for the protection. Here we are in Canada. We're a country that gives out a lot of money worldwide, Rick. You show me one country. You show me one country that's given Canada money. I can't count any.
No. It's a one-way money train, isn't it? Straight out of Canada to, countries around the world for all kinds of things.
For everything under the sun. And at the end of the day, we have what? Our own people starving in the streets. Okay, they're homeless, the drug addicted. But who cares? Let's give our money to Congo, to the Ukraine, to wherever. Makes me sick.
Yeah. So, do you think that, I mean, I do understand how his comments weaken NATO. NATO secretaries here in this NBC report, it says NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said the alliance remains ready and able to defend all allies. Any attack on NATO will be met with a united and forceful response. Others saying that Trump's comments put NATO at risk and actually invite Russian aggression. What do you think? Does it put these other countries at risk? Do you care?
Do I care? No, but it's sort of like extortion. Okay.
Yeah.
You're extorting the United States. Okay. You can't. You're just not gonna. You're not gonna. The WHO, all of them, the WIF, they all need to just go away. See you later. NATO is not, in Canada being part of UN for a very long time from the beginning. 1957 was when the UN became a thing. Okay, we were a peacekeeping nation. That's when UN was. They had a peacekeeping agenda. It's not like that anymore. At all.
Yeah, interesting. You know, some people. Well, since Trump came down the escalator, there were all the allegations of Russian collusion, Russia, Russian influence here, Russian influence there, Russian propaganda, Russian information warfare, Russian influence within the MAGA movement. And certainly there does seem to be support from the conservative side in North America for Putin. I think that a lot of people here like Putin more than they'd vote for Putin before they'd vote for Biden. It's strange, but true.
Same thing with Trudeau. They'd vote for Putin before Trudeau.
Oh, right? Yeah, I think so, yes.
Look what we have. We have nobody protecting us, right, from politics down. Okay, I got to go, Rick. Yeah. My wife's yelling to cook the fish. I got to cook the Super Bowl fish. Thanks, guys.
Right, thank you, Leo. It's been a slice, man.
All right.
All right.
Go, San Fran, go.
Okay, thank you, sir. And I'll take a quick break and we'll come back on the other side and the program will continue.
Hello, world. Are you awake? Uniting humankind by liberating millions of minds at a time. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, let's do this telephone thing. I'll put the banners up here. You guys can call in and weigh in on the conversation tonight. So the number to call, I'll put it right there on the bottom of the screen, is 1-888-722-1071. 1-888-722-1071. So let me run this to reinforce that new phone number. Join the conversation. Call 1-888-722-1071. That's 1-888-722-1071. Be a maverick. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-888-722-1071. The phone lines are open. Call now. at 1-888-722-1071. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now, at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program. For your mind.
Okay, and again, you can call 1-888-722-1071 to join the conversation. You can also support the program by donating at maverickdonations.com. Let me get the banner up for that. maverickdonations.com. You can also donate through the Rumble Rant over on the Rumble channel. Please consider subscribing over there. Or you can donate through freedomreporters.com. And any donation of $60 or more, and I will send you a Maverick News shirt with, I still have it handy here, the embroidered logo. Just tell me what size you would like. They're quite nice. And if you don't want that, we also have hoodies or sweatshirts. For a donation of $30 or more, we will send you a t-shirt at no charge. Just again, tell me what size you want, and they're all in black. So any size you want, as long as it is black. Let me just take a look here. What else is going on today? I think we've got most of the news covered. At least top stories. There's going to be probably some other things coming down the pipe here as we continue on. More, pro-Palestinian protests taking place, not only in Canada, but in the United States as well today, including over in Vegas at the Super Bowl. Here's a protester in Oakville calling for death to America and also to Canada. Supporting the Houthi rebels in Yemen, who've been attacking merchant ships. So yeah, that's in Oakville. This is in Vegas, where pro-Palestinian protesters, I guess, were going down there in an attempt to sort of disrupt crowds going into the Super Bowl. Looks kind of the same everywhere you go, honestly. Not much difference. Same chants everywhere you go. Very similar. There's consistency in messaging, that's for sure. All right, let's take another quick break, and I'm going to check the score for you on that Super Bowl game, and you can call in whenever you're ready at 1-888-722-1071. 1-888-722-1071. Call now, call often.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so the score is 49ers 3, Kansas City Chiefs 0. That's where it stands right now on this Super Bowl Sunday, but she ain't over yet.
Feel the vibrations. Our quest continues. The truth is out there. We are Mavericks.
Join the conversation. Call 1-888-722-1071. That's 1-888-722-1071. Be a maverick. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-888-722-1071. The phone lines are open. Call now at 1-888-722-1071. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. Okay, and I guess, a lot of negative media focused on Donald Trump and Melania, allegations that or suggestions that they've broken up. But this week didn't quite look that way. In fact, quite the opposite. Here's Trump arriving at Mar-a-Lago with Melania and Vivek Ramaswamy. Check this out. Doesn't look like they're broken up to me. No audio here, but back home, and as you can see, Ramaswamy is on side with Trump now. It'll be interesting to find out who his VP pick is. Maybe that's something you guys would want to talk about tonight when you call in at 1-888-722-1071. 1-888-722-1071. Also, seeing some talk about this story. A small business, I guess, hosted Justin Trudeau for sort of a photo op, and some of the left-wing media focusing on this. Here's the story. Small business that hosted Justin Trudeau, they claim, has been trashed with bad online reviews and death threats to the PM. That's interesting. And here on this media site, Crier Media, they're saying one of the strategies Pierre Poilievre's supporters, proxies, and their paid third-party agencies like to employ is to destroy small businesses associated with, in quotation marks, libtards. There's no bigger libtard in Canada, according to Poilievre supporters, trolls, and partners than Justin Trudeau. Justin was in Bowmanville, it says here, supporting Rob Rock, Liberal candidate in the Durham by-election, being hosted by a cute little microbrewery called the Brewer's Pantry. Brewer's Pantry is a home brew shop in Bowmanville. They support several local charities owned by good people who employ many locals in the Durham region. Anyway, they had an event there. I guess they claim they've been receiving death threats. Their business has been targeted with online attacks to undermine their ratings, their score. Through social media, I guess Google ratings, right? And Facebook. What was the name of this place? It was, let's check that out. It was, Brewers, let's go to their Facebook page and see what's going on with that. Brewers, what was it called? The Brewer's Pantry. Okay. I'm going to go to Facebook and see what the comments are like for it. Or maybe even the, well, there's the Google reviews. Let's check that. See what comments are coming in through Google reviews. See if this is true. I certainly don't think that's a good thing to be doing to somebody. There's the review. Brewer's Pantry, 5-star rating. View all Google reviews. There we go. Can you see that on the screen? Yes, you can. Are there any negatives? That's 4 months ago. 2 months ago. They may have employed a reputation management company to purge any of the negative reviews, maybe Google assisted them if there were any negative posts. There's one, but that's from 2 months ago. A 1-star review. Was having a drink in here when another business came in to talk to Chris, the owner. He immediately started yelling in frustration. Found it very unprofessional. I don't know what that's about. All the other ones are 5 stars all the way down. So all very positive reviews, but the most recent one is from 4 months ago on Google reviews. Let's go to Facebook. See what's going on there. See if we can find the Brewer's Pantry Facebook page. There it is, closed at the moment. They're closing down, it says. I wonder what that's about. Closing down. Last chance, everything reduced closing down sale. When are you why would they be closing? They didn't say anything about that I saw in that news story. I didn't read the whole thing down, but you would have thought they would have mentioned it before that. They're selling everything off. And that surprises me. This is the first I've really even looked at this story. I wasn't aware. They're closing down. I can't imagine they're closing because of this, what they say is this incident with people leaving bad reviews. What are the reviews? Rating, looks like 5-star rating. 5-star rating, 25 reviews. Again, I don't know if maybe they have employed a reputation management company or system to combat any negative social attacks, but I'm not seeing any negative reviews on here. These are all positive, every single one. Anything negative in here? No. 25 reviews. What's the most recent? October 14th, 2017. Looks to me like maybe they've purged whatever was posted. So I wouldn't sit here and say that the story is not true. It looks to me like they've found a way to. They probably had some assistance from these social media giants to take down any negative reviews or posts that have been coming in. So maybe we'll contact the owner, who is also a candidate in that by-election in Durham, and get the story straight from them to see what's going on. I'm interested in that, to find out what the truth is. I'm not just going to take the one media report at face value, drill down into it, and get the details for you guys, get you the truth. Pretty interesting stuff. And now it looks like they're closing. Okay. What's the score? What's the score? Social media. What is the Super Bowl score? It's San Francisco 49ers, now 10. And Kansas City Chiefs, 0. 10-0. Now, it's coming up on the top of the hour here, folks, so I'm just going to push a few more buttons and shift gears here a little bit, and I'll be right back. You can call at 1-888-722-1071. Maybe the new phone system isn't working properly. I don't know. Normally we have a bunch of calls in the queue. By now, phone lines should be warmed up, but no calls coming in. Maybe it's because everybody's watching the Super Bowl, but I see lots of people online watching. Lots of you out there. If you haven't called before, I'd love to have some new callers tonight. Leo is always the guy to kind of kick things off, but he was on the program directly on video tonight, so maybe don't be shy. Call in. I'm sitting here waiting for your call. I'll be right back. Join the conversation. Call 1-888-722-1071. That's 1-888-722-1071. Be a maverick. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-888-722-1071. The phone lines are open. Call now at 1-888-722-1071. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. Okay, we've got our first callers coming in there now. Here we go. And we'll answer that one. And I've got two callers on the line. Let's merge them together and see who we have. Two of you on the line, one from London, Ontario, one of you from out in BC, I think. Who's on the line tonight? Hey. Great. Okay, so we've got Gina and who's calling? The other Gina, and I couldn't get the other person. Oh, Isabel, how are you? Welcome back. So Glencoe, just yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what that's about. I don't understand it. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's sort of a strange thing. I'm going to go back and check that media report that was sent to me. Something weird about that, eh? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's an old thing. Here's the report. They can't hear. Oh, they can't hear you guys. Oh, hang on. Okay. Hang on. So they can't hear you? Now they can. Yeah. Gotcha. All right, here we go. I think that should fix it now. They should be able to hear you guys. Let's just go. We have audio back, guys? No, we can't. No, we can't. What's going on here? Strange. Let me check the audio settings. No, it should be functioning properly. I did make a change. There's sometimes lag on, between that and. Let me just check the. Can you guys hear the guys on the phone now? So everything's great. They can hear you now, is what they're saying? No, they can't. They can't hear you. All right. Don't know. This new phone system is pretty complicated, and I've switched over to it simply because we need to save money, and so I'm kind of struggling with it, trying to run it. But it's much more complex than the other system was. Because it's a different system I've adapted to what we're doing here. So no communications, just Rick, it says. And Okay, so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to pull out of this, and the phones are not going to work tonight. So, sorry, guys. Apologize for that. All right, you too, guys. Thanks for calling in. All right. So, why would that be? I don't know. All the settings appear to be correct. All right. So what we're going to do is that's getting us up to the top of the hour. So I'm just going to sign off for tonight and try and figure out what's gone wrong on the technical side. My apologies to everyone for having to cut things a little bit short tonight, but that is the way it goes when you are trying to do something new. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege as always, and I'm sure that things will go much more smoothly tomorrow night when we return at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.